If your hand or your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. Skipping ahead, if your eye causes you to stumble, tear it out and throw it away. Jesus' third warning to his apprentices, do not take loyalty and faithfulness to God lightly. Now, this is an example of Jesus teaching with hyperbole. So he's exaggerating something. He's being more dramatic than what he probably actually believes in order to make a point, in order to shock the disciples' way of thinking more toward the kingdom and less toward the world. Jesus does this often. He's not actually suggesting that we ought to all cut off our hands and gouge out our eyes. But before we just move on too quickly, I want to give a little bit of a word as to how we ought to receive hyperbole when Jesus teaches through it. You see, what some of us do is we go, oh, shoo, it's hyperbole. Okay, I'll just reduce it down then to my point of comfort, and that's how I'll understand this truth. That's not the right way to approach this. When Jesus teaches with hyperbole, we have an invitation to allow Jesus to stretch us, to stretch our thinking. Some of you, statistics say that 75% of Christian men look at pornography and 40% of Christian women. And so I don't know how much that statistic is true or not true in this room, but I'm sure there are at least some people that struggle with that in here. And when you hear this teaching about, it's better for you to gouge out your eyes or cut off your hands, reducing it down to your point of comfort might look like, well, I'll delete those apps that are tripping me up and I'll make a fresh effort of willpower to resist this temptation. And that'll last you about 2 days. And guess what? You can just re-download the apps. That simple. No, I don't think that's how that person should receive this warning here. The way we should receive the warning to cut off our hands and gouge out our eyes is, I'm going to sacrifice whatever it takes to get into a pornography support group. I don't care if I have to get a new job. I don't care if I have to stop doing my favorite thing that I do on a weekly or a monthly basis. I'm going to do whatever it takes because it's better that my hands, it would be better if my hands were cut off, my eyes were gouged out, than if I were just to stay in this place of sin. The call here is to stretch beyond what you would typically do in your own comfort zone. Or to use another example, busyness. Busyness itself is not a sin, but when busyness results in you not living up or living out the kind of lifestyle that Jesus wants you to live, then it is sin. If you're not, I've heard it said that a lot of us are really just too busy to follow Jesus the way that he wants to be followed. And when that's the case, it is sin. Busyness is a sin in that case. And what reducing this teaching down to our comfort zone would look like in terms of busyness is, well, I'm just going to try to squeeze Jesus back in to my already super crowded schedule. I've kind of naturally cut him out. I'm not fellowshipping with believers except on Sunday morning. I'm not really reading my Bible or praying much, whatever, you fill in the blank. So I'll just really try to cram that stuff back in. That's reducing this teaching down to your comfort zone. I think a better application of this teaching would be what John Mark Comer has called ruthlessly eliminating hurry and busyness from your life. Realizing that in order to say yes to the way of Jesus, you are going to have to say no to some things. Now, I know some of you feel like your schedule is completely out of your control and you wish you could get less busy, but you don't feel like you can. I'm not talking to you right now. But for those of you that know, I could get less busy it would hurt because I'd have to sacrifice this. But I could get less busy. The invitation for you is to do it with the amount of intensity that would be reflected in you cutting off your hand.